Tonight we're gonna make love. You know how I know? Because it's Wednesday. And Wednesday night is the night that we usually make love. Monday night is my night to cook. Tuesday night we go and visit your mother. But Wednesday we make sweet weekly love. It's when everything is just right. There's nothing good on TV. You haven't had your after-work social sports team practice, so you're not too tired. Oh, it's all on. You lean in and whisper something sexy in my ear like, I might go to bed now, I've got work in the morning. I know what you're trying to say, girl. You're trying to say, oh yeah, it's business time. It's business time. It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh, it's business. It's business time. Oh, yeah. Then went in the bathroom, brushing our teeth. That's all part of the foreplay. I love foreplay. A shaka shaka, a shaka shaka, a shaka shaka. Ow, ow, ow. And you sort out the recycling. That isn't part of the foreplay process, but it is still very important. Next thing you know, we're in the bedroom. You're wearing that baggy old ugly t-shirt you got from your work several years ago. You know the one, baby, with the color stain. I removed my clothes very, very clumsily, tripping sensuously over my pants. Now I'm naked, except for my socks, and you know when I'm down to just my socks, what time it is. It's business. It's business time. You know when I'm down to my socks, it's time for business. That's why they call business stuff. It's business. It's business time. Yeah. Make a love for. Make a love for two. Make a love for 2 minutes. When it's with me, girl, you only need 2 minutes. Because I'm so intense. You whisper something sexy like, is that it? I know what you're trying to say, girl. You're trying to say, oh yeah, that's it. Then you tell me you want some more. Well, I'm not surprised. But I'm quite sleepy. It's business. It's business time. Business hours are over, baby. It's business. It's business time.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. That's right. It is business time, hump day. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Uninformed Fan. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. The NFL draft is finally here. We can finally stop talking about the NFL draft. It's one of the most exciting days. I cannot wait for it to be over. NBA playoffs heating up.
For you, you know?
Yes, especially. Some teams are showing up, some teams are not. And of course, we are also full-fledged into the NHL hockey playoffs. And if you have not watched hockey, as we are really dipping the toe here for Mr. Jeffrey in his hockey debuts, it is quite impressive. Jeffrey, how are we doing today, my friend? I understand we got a little cat nap in this morning, which is always good for the soul.
Yeah, it's busy times in my house right now.
Always.
Well, but today especially. Today is the wonderful day of April 24th, which is a very special day because it is my wife's birthday today.
Oh boy! Happy birthday, Mrs. Jeffrey.
It is. It is my mother-in-law's birthday, and it is also my father's birthday.
Okay, that's
So
too much. That's
they
too
all
much.
three have April 24th birthdays. So yeah, me and wifey went out, did some shopping yesterday, hit up Tory Burch, got a bunch of merch. Had a nice little, very quick dinner over at the Dock Bar last night at Boathouse with our good friends Andrea and Ian, and then came home. And so I tried to get a little nap in today, and I overslept by about 20 minutes. So I do apologize for my tardiness. But we are here. We are locked in. It's going to be a great day. I got barbecue we're going on at the house. We got a prime rib sous vide that we're going to reverse here on the grill in a little bit later. I'm going to try to get 9 holes of golf in with Pops here in the middle of the day as well too. So man,
what time's dinner? What time, Jeremy? What time's dinner? What time are we heading over there, buddy?
We'll probably be around 7 o'clock, somewhere around there. So,
not too late for old blue hair special either.
You're still there. We will have the lots of sports on. It's funny because one thing, I grew up in every celebration that we ever did, anywhere that we ever were, grandparents' house, my house, whatever it was, sports were always on the television. And so it's always been like a staple that goes hand in hand for me with family time, was everybody gathering around the TV to watch a sporting event. And that's just how I grew up. And, it's kind of like the reason I am how I am now as well, too. So from not being able to touch grandpa's remote and having him in the recliner, and, we had the old TV guide that we would pull out. We had our map of what the day was going to be.
Actually,
to nowadays.
I was around when he actually had to get up to change the channel.
Yes, that as well too. Remember when he got a remote? Remote was great. When we got a phone without a cord on it was really cool as well too. So yeah,
and even if Dad or Grandpa falls asleep in the chair and the remote, and even if they're not physically touching the remote, if you went to grab it, they would wake up and say, "I'm watching that. Don't you touch that."
Yep, and not even like if it could be a commercial, you know what I mean? It didn't matter. As soon as that channel changed, their eyes were open and staring at you like, what do you think you're doing?
I got it as soon as I touched the remote. I'm telling you, it was like some Jedi mind trick shit, to where my dad might have been asleep in the couch and I'd be like grabbing it. As soon as I touch it, it was like some electromagnetic pulse went off in his dad bod and dad brain. And he's like, "Why are you touching the remote?" Of course, it was a little bit more intense than that, but you immediately just set it down and you kind of tiptoe back, and like before you even get back to your seat.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like my grandma would listen to like Orlando Magic radio, like drive time radio with whatever we were doing, and like that's like the culture that I was brought up in. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, wish I had to relate to this story.
I can go down a few different roads with that, but I'm going to wait for a little clarification.
You didn't have a dad or a grandpa or what?
He didn't had a dad.
Love you, Justice.
So,
we'll get to your heat in a second.
Oh yeah. Who's stopping his
Who's
heat?
stopping your heat?
Definitely was not the Bulls. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and dive into it. It is the probably second biggest day of the year for the NFL outside of the Super Bowl. I'm actually going to say that, playoff games included. The NFL draft is here finally.
Yeah.
There is been so much talk about this draft. As somebody that is I guess you'd call me a fan of a team that's had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row, I just cannot wait for this one to be over. Obviously, Bears Nation was split in regards to what happened with Justin Fields and whether you build around him or not. They chose to not to. I said it before. I didn't agree with it, but I've moved on, right? If Caleb Williams is our guy, then Caleb Williams is our guy. I hope he balls out. I also hope Justin Fields balls out. But I cannot wait for this to happen. I cannot wait for this to be over. And I'm very, very curious of what the middle of the pack here of this top 10 is going to do with some of these picks. Before we do that and get into the picks, we did have some breaking news from the 3-time this morning in pre-production meeting. Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman back.
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought it was kind of funny. And I could care less. It doesn't affect me in any way. And as I get older and as more and more people annoy the shit out of me and basically just mess with my aura, if it doesn't affect me directly, I try to just ignore it and block it out of my mind because I just don't care. Does it affect me personally? No, then I don't care. However, this is a sports talk radio show. Yes, we are also on the radio. I don't know what channel, but it's out there. He gets it back. Now, it's kind of, to me, it's like, okay, like, I get it. The rules have changed. I didn't think he should have lost it then because we all know everybody was doing it back then. I just didn't get caught. He was just stupid enough to get caught.
They were really bad at cheating. Yeah.
He still broke the rules. It doesn't diminish his performance on the field or what he accomplished, but he still broke the rules and they took it away from it. Well, now, God, how many years has it been? 10? 10 years later, they changed the rules and they're like, hey, you know what? We know that you cheated back then and broke the rules, but we're going to go and give it back to you anyway. Again, does it affect me directly or personally? No. I guess congratulations to Reggie Bush. I asked the 3-time, though, where has this trophy been the entire time? Was it in the Nissan Heisman house? Was Timmy Tebow walking by it saying, haha, Reggie? Like, is now Reggie Bush going to be welcomed into the Heisman house?
I would assume so, right? Like I would assume that now he's able to be a part of this is their our bad, I guess, give him the trophy, bring him back into the fold with everything. Congratulations to Reggie. I know he was really hoping for it. I know Johnny Manziel was definitely a big proponent of this as well too. Really, really pushing hard for it. So
congratulations.
Congrats, bud.
I can't wait till when Pete Rose is reinstated now, right? I mean, that's got to be next.
Yeah. I mean speaking of, and we can real briefly, right? Like Shohei found to have nothing to do with the whole Ippei thing. So I will say, any wild speculation that I said, officially the FBI says that I'm wrong on. However, I don't fucking care. I think that there's definitely still somehow, some way, like they're saying that Ippei would call the bank and pretend to be Shohei. And that's why the bank was transferring everything for him.
Give me a break.
Okay. Sure.
Give me a break.
Here's the thing. He had 142. So there's $142 million in winnings, but he had like 180 something million dollars in losses. Right. Anyway, the numbers are wild, and the fact that there's like $10 bets that are mixed in there as well too to go along with like million.
Those were Ippei's. Those were Ippei bets.
Sure. Yeah, like the Ippei might have the $10 one. I just, the whole thing to me is whatever.
These athletes to me, man, they're idiots. They really are idiots. Just like the guy from the NBA, right? Okay, even your low end salary was still $250,000. I think, what did he win? $20,000.
Yeah,
like you just gave up. We could go down that hole forever. But yes, congratulations, Reggie. Yeah. Apparently the 3-time said that they removed his nameplate and handed it out to another winner. So wait.
What?
They took away
They're giving him a brand new Heisman trophy with
and gave it to the second place person?
No.
Nah. We'll get some clarification on that. But let's get into the NFL draft. Obviously, the Chicago Bears, myself and the 3-times team, hold the number 1 and number 9 pick drafts. We let Justin Fields go for pennies on the dollar to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason, which was a shocking move to most of Bear Nation, especially for what they got and for when they did it. According to Rod and Poles, he wanted to do right by Justin. But you know what? As a fan and getting dicked over after year, when are we going to do right by the fans? That was my first comment. But hey, as I've said, we're moved on. We no longer Justin Fields on the team. I will always root for him over there. I think he handled everything with a class act, but a new era has dawned, and Caleb Williams is the projected number 1 pick, even though today on Rumbles I saw on Facebook where they are looking hard at J.J. McCarthy now because of the Bears. It's just clickbait. It's just clickbait stories, man. It's just absolute clickbait stories. It's amazing
released by J.J. McCarthy's camp.
It's amazing to me on my timeline of Bears information. It's like Caleb Williams, his Chicago Bears, already working to finalize the rookie contract.
Yeah.
Do the Bears take Caleb Williams or do they go J.J. McCarthy? As J.J. McCarthy is getting traction in Hallis Hall. I'm just like, God, dude. Like,
it's funny. So Logan was on NFL Live yesterday, and he had this thing where he's like, listen, Giants, whatever you do not trade up to draft JJ McCarthy. Please, for the love of God. I've never looked at JJ McCarthy and been like, oh, that guy's going to be a great pro. I've never seen him make a throw and was wowed. I've never seen him.
And I think that's the problem, right? That's the problem.
I don't understand the JJ McCarthy hype whatsoever. I would prefer Jordan Travis, honestly, in round 4 or 3, who, listen, if we're to talk about analytics and the way that the stats break down for deep throws and accuracy, Jordan Travis was actually higher up there than guys like Caleb Williams this year. I think he was top 3 in all of college football in terms of accuracy on deep throws downfield. Now you add an ability to be able to run with your legs as well on the leadership capabilities that he has. I think somebody's going to get a steal, in my personal opinion. When it comes to the Bears,
he's not going in the draft, though, is he? Jordan Travis?
Yeah. He's a senior.
Well, I mean, when you play like Boone Hill High School teams, it's probably easy to pad those stats a little bit.
You would think. I mean, LSU was a pretty, I don't know, formidable opponent. But we're gonna move on.
Selectively and reluctantly.
I will say this. So, right, if you look at the needs that we have right now for Chicago, we have wide receiver, we have offensive tackle, and we have defensive end. There's a few different ways that we can go here, and we're basically just going to talk about the top 10, as well as quarterback, which obviously quarterback is going to get filled with Caleb that we have coming in. Now, the rumblings are, is there a way that they can parlay Marvin Harrison Jr. somewhere here as well, too? And there's a lot of theories and a lot of things that are put out, and I've watched this down a rabbit hole, watch this reel, and this guy was talking about how Josh Allen was trying to tank his draft stock back when he was a quarterback coming out of Wyoming, and he wanted to go to Buffalo. He didn't really want to go to necessarily the other teams that were before Buffalo. And you've seen it happen where guys' tweets resurface from 10, 11, 12 years ago. And Josh Allen had a bunch of thirsty tweets that were on there. Well, now Marvin Harrison Jr. Is out here making Antonio Brown look like he doesn't have CTE with some of the tweets brought up. Which I haven't seen. Oh, okay. So there's been a lot of tweets that have been released in the past few days, basically, of like thirsty tweets that Marvin Harrison Jr. had back years and years ago. But they're being released, and the thought process is that it's done to tank his draft stock so that maybe there's a way that he falls to 9. I don't think there's a way that he falls to 9. I think that if you want, you're going to have to go ahead and leverage whatever you need to go out and get him. And I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. If you give up your second rounder to move up and get Marvin Harrison Jr., you come out with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. out of this draft, you have hit an absolute home run for the next 5 to 6 years in your franchise, without a doubt. Now, there's the other aspect of it as well, too. You need a wide receiver and you need an end. So do you want to give up a second round pick maybe, or a one of those?
Do they really need a wide receiver? I mean, you have DJ Moore on one side, you have Keenan Allen on the other. I mean, you have the 2 tight ends, right? I mean, you can't find anybody to put in a slot. Now, I would 100% agree with you if you can get Marvin Harrison Jr., absolutely. But you're also talking about Rome Odunze that's going to be around there. And
yeah, there's these other guys, like, okay, Malik Neighbors is great. He's fine. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is that much better than, and people say that they have Malik Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., which to me is wild. For me personally, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is so far ahead of the other wide receiver prospects that to me it would be worth it to move up. Correct. Because you have Keenan Allen for how long? I don't know what Keenan Allen's contract looks like.
Supposedly they're working on an extension already.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not going to be, I wouldn't think, $30 million or anything of that nature, but apparently they're already working on the contract extension. So I think if they could get that done, which obviously they're not going to get done by the draft, but if they can have an idea of what his camp's looking at, that would give you a better outlook, right? And let's be honest, Keenan Allen had a little bit of a resurgence last year, but he was hurt for quite a while in his career. Hopefully he stays healthy, but with an aging receiver, that is a question. Let's go ahead and go down this list real quick so we can kind of, like you said, see where these chips are going to fall. I don't see how Marvin Harrison Jr. gets past the Cardinals. But so Bears, we're all consensus. Caleb Williams is going. Commanders, it does get a little interesting. We have Jaden Daniels. There's also rumors of Drake May, but Jaden Daniels is who I think I have slotted there. It just amazes me again when we talk about the analytical approach from some of these people. You got Dan Orlovsky, who I respect, and I think he has a lot of good points. But now he, off of 1 year, of Jaden Daniels, right? And so Caleb Williams, we have a 2-year span. His last year wasn't necessarily his best year as Caleb Williams, but we also agree that he didn't have necessarily the tools that he had the year before. But he sustained a reputable numbers through both years. Well, Jaden Daniels obviously starts off at Arizona State, I believe. It doesn't pan out. Comes to LSU, has a great year last year. Now all of a sudden he's the second coming. He's better than any other prospect, according to Dan Orlovsky. Which, again, I just have to refer back to, especially with the talk of Drake May in North Carolina coming out at 3. I have to go back to Mitchell Trubisky, how they all said this was the guy. I mean, can we just? I think it would be great if they could just be like, "Hey, we don't really know."
Just
right?
I don't think they're taking a kicker at 2, but listen, we gotta rethink the way that we see the Washington Commanders. Right, we've seen them as a loser franchise our entire existence, pretty much. Unless we want to go back to the Doug Williams days, but they have new ownership. They are going to be rolling out new marketing, new everything. We got to rethink the way that we look at the Washington Commanders because I think they're a team that's going to be on the rise. Well, we'll see what they do with this draft pick, right?
I think they're going Jaden Daniels, right? I mean,
I think it's tough. I think they're going Drake May. I do, and I think that's going to end up putting the Patriots in an awkward scenario where now does the clamoring for that number 3 pick get louder and louder? While there is a very deep quarterback class, I think the drop-off happens very quickly in terms of how good the prospects are. And I think Caleb Williams is in his own tier. I think Drake May is probably in his own tier, and then Jaden Daniels as well, too. And then after that, when you get into J.J. McCarthy, I would actually take Michael Penix ahead of J.J. McCarthy. I would take Bo Nix possibly ahead of J.J. McCarthy. But listen, these guys, they all have their own opinions on what they're going to like. And that's why it's going to be so interesting to see the way that the night plays out because we haven't seen any activity before the night has started. So
my biggest question is this: when we're evaluating these quarterbacks, we would say Jaden Daniel is a 2-way quarterback, right? Mobile, able to get out of the pocket, run, things of that nature. I think we'd say Caleb Williams is more of a pocket.
I think dual threat is what he would probably prefer.
Dual threat, right? That's my point. Dual threat. Well, you never know. Who is a successful dual threat quarterback in the National Football League?
Lamar Jackson.
And what happened to him in the playoffs?
So I'll say this. I think that Josh Allen is very successful as a 2-way quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not.
It goes both ways, as you say.
Yeah, they go. But as a primary, right? Being mobile is great, but not as a primary. And I think that we've seen that throughout the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is mobile, but that's not his primary focus. When you look at like Justin Fields and some of the other both-way quarterbacks, when you have that ability to break out of the pocket and run, that sometimes take over your instinct of I need to go to my second and third read. It's the first read's down. I'm tucking. I'm trying to get out of there. I just haven't seen the success of dual threat quarterbacks elevate in the NFL. So when it comes to these quarterbacks that are coming out here, I think that's why these Drake Mays and some of these other guys get a little bit more spotlight is because, the scouts say that they're more NFL ready. They're better pocket passes, pocket presence. And when you're that dual threat quarterback, one of your first instincts is to get the hell out of there because you know that you can make a play with your legs. It's going to be very interesting. So to your point, so the Patriots sitting there.
Quarterbacks have to be somewhat mobile. I would say.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying Tom Brady planting trees. I'm just talking about
where he's just a statue and can't move.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not talking about planting trees, but even when we saw Justin Fields, like there was times where like he just didn't let the play out, he would just take off. And a lot of mobile quarterbacks do that. And I think that in the NFL to be successful, you got to stand in that pocket a little bit longer before you get out there. Obviously, being mobile is definitely helpful. So the Patriots, as to your point, if the Commanders do go Drake May, that's a good point. Now, and I'm going to kind of jump down here to the more of 5 and 6. The Chargers and Giants are the two that I feel like can make a splash, to your point. After what we saw from the Commanders that they offered the Bears to try to trade up for Caleb Williams, and then what we've also heard leaked from the Arizona Cardinals to jump up to their spot, the Arizona Cardinals wanted 3 first-round picks to move up to 4 as well. So I'll be very, very curious to see what's going to happen here with the Giants and Chargers. I don't think that the Cardinals pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. unless it's an absolute haul. He's been slotted in that position for months. He hasn't moved. I don't see him moving. To your point, though, Jeff, do the Bears move up? I don't think that they do. I think that, to your point, there's a couple other receivers out there that aren't Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's going to depend on the price tag, in my opinion. And I think once you drop past the 6th pick after the Giants, it gets kind of pedestrian at that point. One of the interesting ones I do see on the projected is the Jets drafting Brock Bowers, which I think would be absolutely great for the Jets. And for those of you who don't know, Zach Wilson was traded to Denver over the past week. A couple days ago. I think it's absolutely great for Zach. I don't know what the mindset is with Denver and him coming there. I don't know. The kid can play.
MILF business will be booming for Zach Wilson.
Bro, Colorado is going to be looking good. Can you imagine him hitting the slopes?
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing, ladies?
I'm rooting for Zachy boy.
And plus, he's closer back to Utah as well, and his roots there in BYU. So,
I don't see Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping past 4. Do you see him going past the Cardinals?
I don't think he should, but Cardinals need a lot.
Let me ask you this. If the Cardinals don't trade and they're sitting there at 4, do they pass on him for somebody else?
No.
I don't think so either. Now, this is where I wanted to get into this real quick before we move on. The Chargers-Giants, 5 and 6. Now, the Chargers are in complete rebuild mode. They're not going to compete. I'm sorry. Love Justin Herbert. I bought his stock completely while it's down right now. They're not going to compete. And if they do compete, they're definitely not going to make any waves in the playoffs. They're in the middle of a full rebuild with Justin Herbert as their corner piece. So one player, a la similar to the Chicago Bears last year, is not going to make this a super impactful on this roster, in my opinion. Now, where do they trade? There's rumors of the Giants trading up for the Chargers. Why? I don't know why you would. Exactly.
There's zero shot that they're taking a quarterback.
Well, because of the reasons as like when the Bears traded up to 2 for Mitchell Trubisky, because you do have the Falcons, the Jets, and others, and the Titans, really, which I don't think the Titans would, but you do have some other teams that are sitting behind that might try to trade up with the Chargers at 5 to grab a JJ McCarthy. To grab whoever that last quarterback is in panic because they are all gone. I think that the 5 and 6 is going to be very, very interesting. I don't think that the Titans move off of Joe Alt. I think that's absolutely imperative for them. The Falcons are one as well that I just don't know. Like they're a little bit further apart. They have right now, I think, slated as Latu out of UCLA.
I will say this. So Malik Neighbors, yes, I think the Chargers are just going to go basically. He's just going to build linemen. He's going to build linemen through the draft. He's going to make sure he wins the trenches. It's just it's Harbaugh. This is how he is. They don't need running backs. They just got J.K. Dobbins. They just got Gus Edwards. They're just going to build linemen. And
so if they don't trade there, they might snag Joe Alt there because obviously
I think that's where I would slot Joe Alt is right there for the Chargers. And then you look at the Giants, and the Giants, that's a good spot for Malik Neighbors. If you're looking at,
I would agree.
I think they're going to want to add a piece and be a little splashy. Saquon leaves. You got to get the fan base excited about something. This is Daniel Jones' prove it year. He's either done after this year and you're moving on, or you'll figure it out. You're going to be terrible this year if he is, but at least give him a piece to try to work with.
Is this a contract year for him?
No, he's still under contract, but they can get out of the contract after this year. So it's essentially
team options.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically a contract year. You're basically playing for your contract.
Yeah. You remember he signed, it was what, 3 or 4 years for $40 million a year, but it was basically, you could get out of the contract after year 2. So this would be,
he'll ball out this year. That's how it always works.
Titans, I see them going line as well too. Somewhere, some kind of trenches, dude. The very interesting part, and this is something that the Chicago Bears fans have to monitor as well too. The Falcons are under a huge investigation right now from the NFL for tampering. And
which was obvious.
There is talk that this decision comes in on draft night.
And it could drop them from 8 to 32.
Correct. On draft night, they say, hey, guess what? We don't have the 8th pick anymore. Really sorry. You're punished for tampering with Kirk Cousins. And we're dropping all the way back to the very end. And if that happens, Chicago, hey, Chicago, what do you say? I mean, what a blessing that would be for the Bears as well to get in there. And then, yeah, I mean,
I will say this, depending on who's there at 8, if they
Turner, I mean, there's
if they do get there, depending on who's available, I can see them now trading back. I really can. I could see them even going from just 8 to 9 and getting a couple picks if whoever they want is still available. This is going to be a very interesting draft.
You got to keep in mind too, JJ McCarthy would still be available at this point from what we've talked about.
Correct. And a team might want to jump up to grab him.
Exactly. The clamoring would be there for you to move back and then be able to build through the back later into the draft.
It's just such an interesting time, right? Because outside of the number 1 pick, there's a lot of confusion of what the Bears are going to do. We all know Ryan Poles likes picks. There's talk out of Hallis Hall of not even, you have 4 picks, giving up picks to move up to take Marvin Harrison Jr. And because the next couple of years we're stockpiled in 2nd round picks as well. Obviously, it's going to take a 1st rounder as well, in my opinion, to move up. But we'll see what happens. Sure. It's going to be very, very interesting. Thursday night, NFL live draft. We'll have some reactions on Instagram, I'm sure.
And that's the thing too, is that if you look at it, like, let's think about from the Cardinals' perspective. Let's say they don't have Malik Neighbors graded that far below Marvin Harrison Jr. And you have an ability to move from 9 to 4. You can move back and gain 2 first-round picks in the next few years to be able to continue to build your team. Because right now, you look like one of the worst rosters in the NFL, regardless of how you played last year. It's just what people assume. I don't know. I think there's a lot
talks of moving Kyler Murray. Like, do we even really know what the direction of that team is?
No, a lot of questions to be answered in the next 24 hours, or I guess 36 hours that we'll see come to fruition. Are we going to be live out on site to mingle with the people, or what?
That could be a possibility. I don't know.
I am on call, and if you are looking for a good content day, I think Jeremy's off, I believe, but the Orlando Magic will be playing at the Kia Center during the draft that's going on as well too. So it might be an interesting day for content if you're looking for some meltdowns if the Magic start off.
Yeah, well, apparently I'll have to. I'm going to get into this in a second, but apparently I'll have to leave my house in order to watch a nationally televised playoff game. But let's get into the NBA playoffs. They are live, they are uninteresting, and they are blowouts. We saw the play-in games pretty much play out as me and Jeffrey predicted, at least on the Eastern Conference. The Bulls beat the Hawks, who Jeff said didn't really belong. The Bulls made them look terrible, and then the Heat made the Bulls look terrible. It was quite an interesting news out of Chicago is finally like, this isn't working. We're going to blow it up. I would highly anticipate Billy Donovan probably not being back. I would imagine some of the superstars are also going to be gone. Now, with that being said, I still give the Bulls and Billy Donovan a positive grade for the year. You were out without Zach LaVine for the entire year. You were also still without Lonzo Ball, who is part of this. David Caruso just did an amazing job.
David Caruso from CSI Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. Ayo stepped up. It's just the problem is DeRozan and LaVine. They just don't gel. And you got LaVine on a max contract. I don't know. Anyway, that's gone. Can't wait to see what they do coming back. The 76ers beat the Heat. The Pelicans beat the Kings.
Before we move off your Bulls, I do want to say a few things because I think this was an incredible year for Kobe White. And I think what you got and what you saw from Kobe White at the end of the year, if that is what you're going to get from him going forward, you need to build everything around him. The ability to create off the dribble, the ability to play good defense, the ability to knock down open jump shots, create your own shot.
Until the Heat shut him down.
He was in his bag. The Heat
Yeah,
are a
but that was
different
I think
animal.
that was just an inferior Atlanta team, though. I mean, look at the
No, but it
defensive
wasn't just
prowess
Atlanta.
of the Miami Heat.
If
No,
you
no,
look
no,
at the way that he
I'm not
played,
doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm saying he had his absolute career game against the Atlanta Hawks, which my Fanatics reps is reaching out saying, "Hey, I got this signed Kobe White rookie card here." Like, okay, bro, you had one blow up. Let's calm down. Let's check our jets here. All right. He did have a great game, but when you look at the defensive prowess that the Miami Heat did and the coaching ability of Eric Spoelstra, now don't get me wrong, the Atlanta Hawks coach, Quinn Snyder, amazing coach as well, who looks like he
really
got a
good.
little bit of his years back. Those years out in Utah, man, he did not look good. He looks like he got a little life back in him.
Atlanta, man, you know.
I guess so. Like, but you know,
somewhere over there.
to watch a Miami Heat team without Jimmy Butler, all right, who is a good defensive player as well, completely shut those two down. They shut them down.
I thought that was
Shut him
wild.
down.
I didn't think I thought without Jimmy that the Heat would really struggle in that game. And they didn't.
They did not.
They hopped out early. They never trailed. It just kind of it was what
One
it was.
of the stats that was interesting to me that I was listening to, and they were talking about them playing without Jimmy Butler, and they were like, "This is nothing new to this Miami Heat team." They were like 14-4 without Jimmy Butler. And that just shows you how deep the team is and how well coached the team is. I said it before. I said it to my father-in-law. I really think Eric Spoelstra is one of the most underrated coaches in the NBA, and I think he could possibly be a top 3 coach in the NBA. He is that good. He's that detailed. And they had the game plan, and they shut him down. And Billy Donovan and the Bulls could not rebound. They shut down Kobe White. They shut down DeMar DeRozan. And who else was out there? Now, of course, they were donking everything from the three-point line, a la Orlando Magic, which we're going to get into here in a minute, but that game had some serious vibes. But yes, I still think it was a positive season, man. I think that there's a lot to look forward to for the Bulls moving forward. We just got to put some stuff together, man, and hopefully with this new regime change, we can get into that. So the Pelicans did beat the Kings. So we go into the standings. We'll start off with the Western Conference. We only have one game in there. Oklahoma City did take care of the Pelicans in game 1. It was a great game, 94-92.
Yeah, CJ McCollum misses a 3-pointer at the I can't describe it. So I went through and obviously I bet a lot of underdogs in the first round. None of them covered. It was one of the most amazing things. So then I'm like, you know what? I have this much left in my account. I'm going to the very last game. I'm 0 for 7. You know, I got a chance to get it all back. Let's just bet on OKC at home to cover the spread against New Orleans. No Zion Williamson.
And what was the spread?
It was 7.5, 8. Doesn't matter. It was they won by 1. So like that was what it was. So yeah, I just and then we'll get into it as well. But I had the Lakers every which way in game 2 against the Nuggets. I was live betting people at the bar before the game started. All
right, well, let's get into the Laker game then. Well, let's get into that one since I do believe we're talking about game 2 or game 1. We're talking about game 2.
I mean, game 1 they were winning as well too. They've been up both games so far in the series.
But game 2 they were up by 20
points. I was not peacocking. But
you were peacocking. You were the chest was out.
I felt like I had finally gotten off the schneid when it came to it. I'm looking at my resident Nuggets fan who we took action before the game, and you know, just like, told you so. Told you LeBron and AD.
Can't do
is
that
like,
in the NBA, Jeffrey.
Dude,
you know
AD
better than this.
Like 13 of 14 from the floor. Just absolutely unstoppable. They go into halftime with all the momentum. They come out in the third quarter on fire. I'm like, all right, you know, like we finally hit one. Thank God.
So if I was standing there and I would have said the exact same thing, you would have lost your mind. How are you going to say that? You can't say that.
I didn't say it out loud. I'm telling you what I felt internally.
Oh, I thought you said you were peacocking around.
I wasn't necessarily peacocking, but I was confident that we were going to be okay. And it's funny because the way the game played out, you know, everybody says, oh, the Lakers went 5 minutes without scoring. It didn't feel like it. It was just so weird the way that the Nuggets at the end of the game just turned it on, man. And they made 7 field goals in a row to end the game. It's like the most field goals made in a row in a playoff game in the like last 20 years of history in the NBA to close the game out. Obviously, Jamal Murray hits the step back. Everybody criticizes LeBron for the 3. It's like LeBron had just hit 2 threes right in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's face right before that. He literally hits 2 threes. He comes down. He gets the layup, right? Jamal Murray comes down and answers him, and then he has a wide open shot. And the way that the ball, it did everything but go in. It hit the front, the back, the side, the other side, and bounced out. They don't call a timeout. He lets it play out. Jamal Murray.
Jordan would have swished it. Yeah, I mean, we've been down this road, Jeffrey. I've said it numerous times. It doesn't matter if a team's up by 30 in the NBA. Talk to me with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It's just the way that it goes. There is a lot of talk about LeBron in this series, and I listen to it. As you know, I consider myself a very unbiased person in certain things. Obviously, I do think Jordan's the GOAT because obviously I grew up with him. I watched him. I've seen this. There was just an aura about him. However, right. There was a lot of chatter. If LeBron could somehow pull this championship off, then not only do you have to talk about the longevity of LeBron James in the NBA, but winning a championship at this stage would have to, continue to put him equal, if not slightly above. Now, I listened to the arguments from multiple personalities, and I couldn't disagree. I couldn't. I mean, if he was able to come through and do what he did. Now, again, I think the way that he pieces together teams. And I'm going to talk a little bit about LeBron in the future, but I think that it would definitely raise the chatter. So I don't know if that's a little bit more pressure on the Lakers at this point, because I got to feel at the end of the day, when you're out there, not only just playing the game, but, I've never seen somebody's legacy more in question at the end of their career. I mean,
yeah,
the legacy is already cemented, but we want to talk about GOATs and do this and do that. Jordan put up some great numbers with the Washington Wizards when he was at the end of his career, but he was never the finals or you know what I mean? It was more of a dog and pony show. It was a dog and pony show to sell tickets. So, I would have to do something, and I'd have to, look at this as well as, an unbiased reporter, if you want to call it that. I just wonder if that's putting a little bit more pressure on him. I just don't know. I mean,
the pressure's off now because the reason that I thought
I don't know though. I've seen some crazy shit where teams go down 0-2 and come back.
It's not very, I think it happens like 17% of the time. Because we always say, they held their home court. They did what they're supposed to do. Well, it's like if you don't win one of those first 2 games, you have like an 83% chance of losing the series. Yep. So there is that aspect as well too. I don't feel bad for LeBron at all.
I never said that.
I'm saying I don't feel bad for LeBron at all.
I just want to make sure that I was perfectly clear on that one.
Yes. No. But this is pretty much it, man. Like the level that he played at this year, and it's just so crazy that this one team, this Denver Nuggets team, is just the thorn in his side. If you look at the run that they went on last year, and they run to the Nuggets, and then they'll have leads. They'll have these leads, and then all of a sudden, somehow, Denver and Nikola just is able to force a guy off and play volleyball with one hand and then outlet it, and Jamal Murray makes every shot. It's just I don't know what it is. They can't.
They're a good basketball team.
I think they've lost 9 or 10 in a row to the Nuggets, and like they've led every game of those 9 or 10 games. Like it's
almost like they're toying with them.
It's unfathomable the way that it plays out. And the epitome to me is right. They come down. They're up by 3. LeBron just hit a monster 3. Jokic throws the ball. Gordon goes and is like about to fall out of bounds, turns and saves it and throws it up. And it goes right to Michael Porter Jr., who's standing there at the 3-point line. And with 2 guys jumping in his face, just buries a 3-pointer. And you're just like, how does this happen? like insane. But listen, I thought both performances all around. There's no way that AD doesn't get a shot up in the fourth quarter. That's absolutely terrible, especially when he was 13 of 14 and 1 point from the floor. He was absolutely cooking. I don't understand how shit like that happens. I think the critiques about what they were talking about after the game are stupid and unwarranted. And I call it LeBron James derangement syndrome. Just like people have Trump derangement syndrome. This is like people who are never LeBron James fans who just take every little thing that is done or said and completely try to blow it up out of context.
Was this in regards to the 3-point shot?
This is so he was like
the commentary.
He's like, I don't understand what's going on with the officials. There's a play. D'Angelo Russell goes up for a layup in the third quarter. Michael Porter Jr. comes down, slaps him in the face. He misses the layup. They call a foul. They challenge it. The slap happened after D'Angelo Russell released the ball, but they challenge it. And they challenge it, and they go to the replay review center, and they come back and overturn the call. And they're all just like, How do you review it and overturn the call? Like
because he was fouled afterwards. After the shot,
I was watching it in real time. I turned to Jeremy. I go, I don't understand what just happened. What happened? Anyway, and so people were upset because they're like, oh, he's talking about a call that happened in the third quarter, so on and so forth. And he also referenced the Philadelphia 76ers, New York Knicks as well too. Now, in the NBA's report that they put out for the last 2 minutes where they do great.
What I'm talking about, when you said that he referenced the Knicks game, was that in regards to officiating as well?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He referenced the last few seconds of that game as well too, with officiating and how terrible it was. And it's funny because when they did the grades, NBA comes out the last 2 minute report where they grade basically how the last 2 minutes were officiated and what calls were missed. There was only one call that was missed in the Lakers game, and it was a 3-second call on Nikola Jokic that they didn't call. But if you go to the New York Knicks and Philadelphia 76ers game, there was, I think, 5 calls that were missed in the last 2 minutes, and pretty much every single one of them favored New York. So tough look.
It's a tough thing. I'll tell you, as I've been blessed to sit closer and closer to the action, you can call a foul on every single play, guys.
And the way that they get it right on so many plays where you're like, how the hell did they see? And because the game is so fast. I don't think it's very easy to watch on TV and not understand how fast the game actually is, as opposed to you. I'm sure you've seen it now sitting as close as you have. These guys are monsters who are moving at very high speeds.
They don't look very big on the TV, and then you get there and like, holy shit, this guy's like 6'6".
Yeah.
What? Well, before we move on off of LeBron, I do want to present one thing because I did see a little bit of a news article in the dark pool of sports reporting. And I like to call it dark pool because I can't validate it or invalidate it. So I'm just going to spit it out and let the internet do what it will.
Okay.
There is talks of LeBron James opting out of his contract with the Lakers.
Yep.
Going up the road to one Golden State, who is also going to draft little Bronny.
Okay.
He's been on record saying that he wants to play with Steph. He's been on record saying that.
Yeah.
I think that you've done your time, and I mean, let's also just say this. I mean, it's not like LeBron wants to stay in one spot, right? It's not like he's like committed. I'm a Laker for life. I don't think he's ever said that. He's always kind of looking to see where else he can go. Whatever, that's part of his legacy or anything. I don't see. I can honestly see him doing this. You go to Golden 100%. State. You go to Steve Kerr, who's one of the better coaches. Probably one of the most decorated coaches outside of Greg Popovich, right? I mean, he has, what does he have, 5 rings as a player and 4 as a coach? I mean, a lot of good stuff there. That would be a very interesting move for me. I'd be very curious to see how that plans out. I think that LeBron would not only make that move for him, but I think it would be more for Bronny, because that would ensure that Bronny gets drafted. And I think that we can all agree with his draft stock. It's not very high. So I think this would be a family legacy move. Not that little Bronny needs any money, I guess, when your dad's a billionaire.
No.
But I could definitely see that, and that would obviously fulfill his wish of playing with his son before he retires, and then he rides off in the sunset, buys an NBA team, and then we see him doing whatever he does for the rest of his life. So would you like to see that?
I if that's what LeBron wants to do, cool, good for him. I don't feel.
I want to know
I
what
have
Steph does.
no personal. I don't care. I mean, I really don't care. I want Steph Curry to play for the Orlando Magic next year. That's what I want.
I think
I don't know how we make that happen, and I know
don't
it'll
know
never happen. But I can hope and dream that will.
All right, let's move it on here. So we do have the Clippers Mavs, which to your point was the only team. Well, I guess it was the second team. The second team that came back and picked up a game on the road, 96-93 last night, 97-109 the night before. Watching Luka Doncic, to me, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right or not.
I'm just going
Luka. Watching Luka, Jokic, I mean, these guys, they're just fun to watch, man. And watch Kyrie Irving kind of take a step back and be more of the distributor, the facilitator. I think has worked out great. He does take his shots when he has to, but my God, he's so quick, dude. The way that he cuts and creates space and for Luka and these boys to be able to just continue to knock down these shots. I don't have the field goal percentage. I know it was pretty good, but man, what a win for the Dallas Mavericks. We said that this could be a little bit of sneaky here for the Dallas Mavericks with the LA Clippers, and there it is. We got this sneaky win. Now we're going back to Dallas, and we stole one away from the Clippers. The Clippers, to me, obviously, is it Kawhi? Kawhi? He's still not playing. He comes back at some point, correct?
Kawhi played last night.
He did.
A very limited role, however. So
I like it. I think we both picked the Mavericks here, did we not?
We did, and I it's funny because one of my group texts somebody somebody texted and they were like, "This is really the Clippers starting lineup," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is what it's been." The entire year. With the addition of PJ Washington was really big for them as well too. They can kind of spread the court with shooters. But I just love the way that Luka and Kyrie have been playing off of each other. I think it's been phenomenal. Luka, a great guy, one of the best players in the world. It's been great to watch him as well too.
Absolutely. Well, one that hasn't been fun to watch, and one that's been outright disappointing, the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Phoenix Suns. The Timberwolves lead 2-0
that direction.
Well, I was just wrapping up the Western Conference here.
Yeah, it's cool. Listen,
pathetic.
I'll say this. I've been saying it for about a month and a half. Anthony Edwards, best player in the NBA. He has literally decided, and like he's literally just talking shit to them every single play.
There he is. He's back, everybody. Okay, we lost you at Ant-Man. Oh, now it looks like you're giving yourself a...
I'm just joking.
You're so alive.
Okay. Like I was frozen. He's basically decided to take on the big three by himself, and the way that he has, conducted his business. He doesn't back down from him. He's always said Kevin Durant's his favorite player, but if you look at it, he's calling Kevin Durant old on the court, telling him that he can't compete with them.
He's talking shit.
I love Anthony Edwards. I love what he brings. He's the best player in the NBA, in my opinion. He's unstoppable. He can score at every single level. He plays with great intensity. And listen, if you look at their team, they're the best defensive team in the NBA. Now, obviously, you have Gobert there on the back end, but the way that they're able to defend the perimeter has a lot to do with him as well, too. Minnesota is going to be tough out for somebody. And I was dead wrong. I thought Phoenix would show up. I thought Phoenix would show up, and I thought Phoenix had a chance at the series. But, man, this Minnesota is just on a different level. Ant has the passion and the fire of guys that we saw from dudes like Kobe and KG. We haven't seen it in a long time.
Remember the passion that we saw the Phoenix Suns 2 years ago when they made all those moves, brought in Durant, mortgaged the farm. We're like, yeah. And now they're going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves and getting absolutely destroyed. Just goes to show you, kids, the one superstar doesn't always make a difference.
Yep.
Well, speaking of more shit and poor performances, let's move on to our hometown in the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic and the Cavaliers, down 2-0. The biggest disappointment for me in this is I can't even watch the damn game. It's nationally televised on NBA TV, but it's blacked out in my home area because I don't have Bally Sports because YouTube TV does not have it. Absolutely egregious. The fact that a playoff game is not nationally televised. Apparently, I haven't missed anything, though, because all I've seen is Magic blowouts. We're coming back home, right? I mean, we're coming back home. Maybe we can show up here. I don't know. We said to start this series, we need to see Paolo take over. I have not seen Paolo take over unless I missed something.
No.
Have I missed it? I did see some rumblings of my man Mo making some waves.
Mo's been the best player in the series for the Magic, and it's really unfortunate these Cleveland fans who have basically been sending death threats to Mo and Franz, calling them Nazis, saying that they're going to the game to kill them. This crazy shit, dude. Like, y'all are wild, bro. And they don't like Mo because Mo plays really hard, and
Mo plays with passion, which is why he's my favorite player.
And it's like, I don't know, like he's a guy you love to have on your team, you hate to play against, is what it is. Obviously, we see the headline, no Magic touch. Orlando does have the touch of a rapist so far in this series. It has been really, really tough. Listen, the Magic are not a team that should be shooting over 33s a game, and yet we are 17 of 72 from the three-point line through the first two games. I blame this solely on Jamal Mosley. I know people will stand up for him and say that it's not his fault. I said before the series that Orlando has 4 big men, and they need to act like it because they all have different skill sets, and Mosley needs to realize that he needs to play all 4 of them and play all 4 of them in their roles that they need to be. You have Jared Allen and you have Mosley on the outside. Evan Mobley on the outside, who are really good bigs, right? Evan Mobley is a 6'11", stretch the floor, can shoot the ball, can handle the ball. He's a great matchup for Jonathan Isaac. There's no reason that you should have Jonathan Isaac guarding Jared Allen down low. Okay, that's a job for Mo Wagner, for Goga Batate, who Goga has 0 minutes in this series so far. You cannot put Wendell Carter, who's 6'10.5", borderline 6'11", as a center who stretches the floor. When you miss that many threes and you're losing the rebounding game over and over again, it's only going to turn to wide open fast break points for the other team. We get crushed in fast break points every single game. If they don't make matchups, they will be swept. They have to figure these matchups out. They have to get in there. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I don't have a lot of hope right now. Even if they shoot better.
You brought up some of these points where the coach got extended. You said, I have concerns about this coach. So, I mean, this is exactly what you talked about. Yeah, this is exactly what you're talking about.
These are the concerns that I've had with Mosley and I'm somebody who tries to watch every single Magic game the entire year. I've been raised a Magic fan since the time I was 4 or 5 years old. I don't know, man. I mean, I understand we extended him. I know that he's in the running for Coach of the Year, which to me is a joke. Coach of the Year has now turned into an award that we give out for most improved team, not necessarily for best coach. If it was best coach, why is Mazzulla not up there getting NBA Coach of the Year? Why is Mazzulla not being talked about in these circles? Instead, we got the guy from Oklahoma City, we got French from Minnesota, right? And we have Jamal Mosley from Orlando. Those are the guys that we're looking at for Coach of the Year. Now, they all have young talent and they made big steps, correct, but we saw the writing on the wall with that last year with every single one of these teams. So is that continuity? Is that just getting better? Is that having young guys play together? There's a lot of factors that go into this as well. I don't know. To me, I just
find it absolutely amazing that this is the one series that is not nationally televised.
It's very frustrating. I had to find the Bally Sports app and figure out how to sign in through my Spectrum account to get it done, because NBA TV is blocked out because it's supposed to be on Bally Sports. But unless you're at home, you can't watch Bally Sports because you're not on your local Spectrum network. So it is like
what are we doing here?
Dude?
We can't even watch a national game.
I made this argument, and I know I got flayed a little bit for it. And I know Chad and Paul deep down agree with me because they circled back and said, hey, listen, we agree with you, but we're just trying to
not gonna say it publicly.
We're not gonna tell you we agree with you. But yeah, like, how do you have an NBA game that is not on some kind of basic cable that can be seen? You have so many.
It's the only series. It's the only series.
Like Paul said this to me the other day. He goes, "We really need to see the Big Bang Theory again on TBS for 2 hours." Like, why? What are we doing? You know, like, okay. But if you truly want to grow the game, right? You truly want kids to sit down and watch this game with their parents and become fans of teams and understand passion and loyalty to a team, and then you're not going to give them an outlet to be able to go watch it.
But let me just say, it's just us. In Cleveland, it's not blacked out on NBA TV. Or maybe it is. Maybe they have a local channel there as well. I just found it funny. Out of 8 series, there's only one that is not nationally televised, and that
And
is
this is
the
the thing
Orlando
for
Magic.
Magic fans too, because obviously we only got one nationally televised game this year, and we had a chance to be the 2 seed and shit the bed at the end. There's a lot of feelings that we have going on, but it is what it is.
A lot.
Listen, Magic have to bounce back tomorrow night, 7:00. If you are a Magic fan, get out to the Kia Center. Tickets are still pretty reasonable, actually, from what I looked at.
You get nosebleeds for like $60.
Yeah, courtside is obviously going to be 1,500 or whatever. But I will say I saw some lower bowl tickets going for really good seats for going for in the 200s. So,
Yep. Good
take
luck.
that for what you will if you want to get out there and go.
For justice, the Miami Heat are up against the juggernaut that is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, you mentioned that they were 14-4 without Jimmy Butler this year. They will finish 14-8 without Jimmy Butler this year against the Boston Celtics, because I don't think there's any way that Miami has a shot to win any one of these games in this series.
100% agree.
So
100% agree. So we're not going to talk a whole lot about it because without Jimmy
Sorry,
Butler,
Justin.
it's not a full team. We're not getting the full complement. That's kind of the only reason why I wanted the Bulls to win. To at least, not to say that the Bulls would have put up any better of a thing against them, but at least I don't know. Well,
1,000%. I was rooting for the Bulls because I'm like, if the Magic make it through and we have to go play Boston, I at least want them to have had some kind of competitive series. And with no Terry Rozier and with no Jimmy Butler, that's thrown out the window.
Which is interesting because if the Magic can win, that means the Boston Celtics are coming to town, which is obviously big for my family. They're all Celtics fans.
Good luck with your ticket purchases.
We know a couple people.
Yeah, it'd be okay.
So moving on, we do have 2 more.
The problem with that is that the amount of Boston fans that are here. Like, I don't expect there to be any Cleveland fans in the building on Thursday, but I will say this: when Boston is in town, it'll be
50-50.
A lot of Boston fans in town.
Absolutely. Well, we did see a very good series happening in New York. The New York Knicks and 76ers, those games have been absolutely amazing to watch. The way that the game 2 ended at 104-101 was absolutely nuts the last game. It was just it's just a very entertaining. I got to feel good for the New York Knicks. They've waited a long time. Tom Thibodeau obviously still has a little special place in my heart. I think that the Bulls ran him off like a bunch of idiots that they are. I'm rooting for him, man. It's just a good thing. Jalen Brunson doing his thing out there. It was a fun game to watch, man. And
it's a feel good, fun story too. Look at the Villanova team, right? Of Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jalen Brunson, who went and won a national championship. Now the chance for all 3 of them to reconnect back in New York and play together. And it's those 3 and OG Anunoby, right? You can say whatever you want about Hartenstein. Wow, whatever. Sure, he's playing big. Okay. Those 3 are the catalyst for everything that they do. And it's so cool to watch them now come through college, be good friends, and now get into this situation down in the NBA. Listen, that they know each other's games. They have continuity. That being said, I thought Philly is the better team in this series. They're the better roster. They seem to be the better team. I love Nick Nurse as a head coach. They should have won both games. They're 0-2 in games, and they should be 2-0.
I think the Knicks just want it more.
It's insane. It's just like, and I don't know if maybe it's a Garden thing. We'll see what happens in Philly. I would definitely put my money on Philadelphia in game 3. It's going to take a 40 or 50 point performance from Jalen Brunson to keep them in that game, I feel like. My question is okay, Philly, you go through this dog fight with New York and you get through this series. Joel Embiid already looks like he's withering away out there on the court. He looks
like a cyborg, bro. He fell down on the ground, and I don't know if you saw it, but his right eye was blinking, but his left one was not.
I was saying this too. The way that Embiid plays basketball for a big, right? He falls like a guard, and he reacts to contact like a guard. In terms of, if you look at, take for LeBron, for instance, right? If LeBron gets bumped, LeBron is falling to the floor and forcing a call on the official.
Well, it depends on if he's flopping or not.
In certain cases, it's fine. But when you're 7'2" and you got bad knees and a bad back, falling that many times in a game, I feel like is not conducive to your health. So
he's channeling his inner Greg Odom.
Okay.
I was just waiting for the response there. Well,
why Greg Oden?
because he just was never healthy, never produced. Like he just always hurt himself. He was just a big, lanky, unhealthy, sustainable man that just, it's kind of like, that's why I'm so amazed by Victor Wembanyama. It's like, because, you look at some of these other guys that, the ones that have like elephantitis that are like 7 foot, whatever. And these huge, yeah. You ever heard of that? Elephantitis. It's not just of the penis, Jeffrey. It's a real condition. Okay. But the ones that are just abnormally big, or even like a Chet Holmgren, right? Like he's so tall, but he's like sticks and stones, where Victor Wembanyama sticks and stones, but he has movement. And Embiid just looks like a giant slug out there, right? Yeah. Like when you look at Zion Williamson and the brutality that he brings into the paint, you just don't see that type of quickness out of Embiid. Even LeBron James. LeBron James is huge. And his ability and athletic ability. I don't know. But wrapping it up here, we do have to get wrapping this up pretty quickly. We do have the Bucks and the Pacers, which is just another non-defensive shootout as we expected.
It'll go 7 games.
It started to come through in game 2, 125 to 108. The Pacers on top. Do we have word on Giannis? Is he coming back for this series?
We'll see.
3 times, maybe if you could put that in there. I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe toward the back end.
If he can get back by game 5, I think that they have a shot. If
Lillard's just going crazy though.
If what?
Damian Lillard's just going nuts. Like in the first
he has
half,
to. He has to.
Like hitting.
He's averaging 34.5, but Pascal's averaging 36.6, 12 rebounds.
There's nobody to guard Pascal. That's the reason.
Well, that's Indiana Pacers basketball, right? Run and gun. We're not going to play defense, but we're going to outscore you. And honestly, that was Milwaukee's mantra for the first half of the year until they fired their coach. So we'll see. That's definitely going to be an interesting series.
This is one of those games where I was like, oh man, I'm definitely going to take the over here in game 1, because it's going to be a
of everything I just said,
big up and down game. So just hammer the over here. It was 230, and I was like, I don't care what it is. There's no way that this thing is staying under. Indiana puts up 94 points in game 1 and 109 for Milwaukee.
We are 100% on fade the Jeffrey.
I am just like, okay.
Well, that's going to wrap up for the NBA playoffs. Just real quick, do a quick NHL rundown here. We have had some great matches. The war of Alligator Alley between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers has not disappointed. The Florida Panthers are up 2-0, but what a game. Boston, Toronto tied up at 1-1. That has been an absolute dogfight. The New York Rangers are absolutely ragdolling the Washington Capitals at this point. And the Carolina Hurricanes, who are the favorite to win the cup, they've really stumbled in this New York Islanders series. As to Jeff's point earlier that we talked about in the pre-show, the New York Islanders had game 1. I mean, they were up by a goal with 2 minutes to go, and Carolina scored 2 goals in 9 seconds. I mean, that is hockey. That is how hockey goes.
Yeah.
But Carolina needs to tighten this up. As I put out, Florida was my pick to win. I just think that they have the most complete team. If you look over the past 3 years, they have continued to build and get better and better and better. That's why I picked them. Out on the other side, I haven't really got to see a whole lot of this, so I can't really comment on it. But, Vegas is up 1-0 over
They've
Dallas.
only played one game. That's why.
Who?
Vegas, Dallas, and LA, Edmonton. They've both only played one game in the series, and you're gonna have game 3 finish in Boston, Toronto before they play game 2.
Crazy. Same thing with Winnipeg and Colorado,
Weird,
Vancouver
right?
and Nashville. And let me also tell you, after my little trip to Vancouver, I have a little thing for the Canucks. I kind of have a little thing for the Canucks, bro. To watch all of the fans roll into the bar to pregame, It was passion. I was loving it, dude. I was loving it. I'm not saying I'm rooting for them. I just say it's like it was nice. It was nice to see. Once you connect with the city a little bit, you're kind of like, hey, these guys aren't too bad. My team sucks and they're not in it. I hope your team does well. And that's kind of where I'm at on it. But we will get a little bit closer and narrow this down after the round 1. If you don't watch NHL playoff hockey, which let me also say is all televised. All hockey games are nationally televised for the playoffs, as it should be. Make sure to watch some of this, man. I'll tell you, There is nothing like NHL playoffs. In my opinion, it is the best playoffs in any sport. It is absolutely amazing. Make sure that you tune in.
10 o'clock tonight on TBS, or you can just leave it on ESPN the entire time and you'll find every single game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything to wrap us up with there, Mr. Schneid? I don't see anything in the private chat from the 3 times telling us that we screwed up anything. It's looking like a wrap, my friend.
That's it.
Gap Wedge Wednesday coming up.
Gap Wedge Wednesday coming up. Scotty Scheffler is just inevitable. It's incredible, and it sucks too.
It's incredible. It's supporting because you want to see some good golf.
It's incredible, but
good competition.
What sucks is that because of his number, we're never taking him, right? Like we're never taking Scotty at minus money, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. You're just not doing it. And because the model that's been built, like last week, Sahith Theegala was a huge play. Well, Sahith Theegala comes in second. So like if you throw a bunch on the top 5, the top 10, the top 20, yeah, you hit, but the 60-1 hit is not happening because Scotty is just rolling through everybody and we're getting all these second place finishes.
And I will take the brunt of the responsibility for this week because as I said private, I jumped on this week and I bet. And of course, I don't even know if Cam Davis even made the cut. He didn't look too good.
Everybody made the cut, but
okay. Well, I jumped in. My fault again. I'll step back this week and then watch the money roll in for everybody. So if you guys are looking for a Gap Wedge Wednesday, come back about a 15-minute or so gap here until the boys get set up and get ready to go. They will provide all of the weekly golf for fantasy golf and picks, long shots, favorites, mid-pack, the whole 9 yards. So be sure to tune in for that. That's going to do it for us today on the Uninformed Fan Hump Day. I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy the playoffs. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And if you are traveling this weekend, for the love of God, stay out of the left-hand lane.